Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Thorntown Elementary's preschool and kindergarten roundup. This live Teams presentation is a new thing for us, so I'm going to stick with my PowerPoint for now so that we can navigate that smoothly. There is a question and answer feature. If you have questions throughout the process, please send those questions to us. Mr. Roush, our assistant principal, is online as well, and he'll be answering questions while I work through the material. And at any time, if you have a question or you want something addressed that maybe we don't have on the table tonight, send us that and we will get back with you. You can also contact our office. Our ladies up front are always very helpful. So don't hesitate to call and ask your questions, especially if you're a first-time parent. We want to make sure you're comfortable and your child is comfortable when they start school with us in the fall. All right, so we're going to tell you a little bit about our school tonight and more importantly, what you need to do to get your child signed up for school. We're so glad you're joining us. If at any time you have technical difficulties or something goes wrong on our end, please send that message to Mr. Roush as well so that we are alerted and we can adjust. We are well staffed at Thorntown. In our front office, you will meet the principal, myself. I'm Abby Hayden. I have been with Thorntown. I guess I'm finishing up my 9th year now, and my children have gone through Thorntown. So very excited and invested in the process and the things we're doing here at school. Mr. Roush is our assistant principal, and he's been with us for a couple of years now. He also is raising kids at Thorntown. So again, very invested. We care a lot about our kids and our community, and we're very excited to be here. In the front office, you will meet Mrs. Way, our ECA bookkeeper, and Mrs. Marth, our secretary. They will take your calls. They know everything that we need to know and that you need to know, so don't hesitate to call them. They also take good care of your kids if they end up in the office needing any kind of assistance. Mrs. Ford is our full-time registered nurse, and Officer Conley is our full-time school resource officer. We've been very lucky at Western Boone Schools to have a full-time registered nurse and an SRO in every building. They obviously they take care of our kids and help them feel safe at school, but they also go into classrooms and teach lessons. Officer Conley is DARE certified, so he teaches DARE to all of our students, and Mrs. Ford will go into classrooms and teach about good hand washing and hygiene and important things like that that our kids just need to learn in addition to the reading and writing and math. Some of you have probably been around and you know a lot about our school, so bear with me while I share some just some highlights with families that might be new to us. Thorntown is a Title I school. What that means is that we get additional funding to provide supports and interventions for kids in our school. That grant is based on the number of students we have who qualify for free and reduced textbooks and meal assistance, but those services are available to every student in our school. Because of that, we are well staffed in our learning lab. We have a lot of instructional assistants who work throughout our building to help our teachers by working with kids in smaller groups and providing extra support in reading and math. We start those interventions early. In kindergarten, we push in extra support into each classroom during the literacy block, and they're able to work with students in smaller groups to make sure that they are getting those early literacy skills. We also identify students who need help with math, and we'll start working with them on number sense and that sort of thing as well. After kindergarten, we have a 30-minute period every day for each grade level that we call success period. And this is a time when students are all working on individualized learning goals. So if they need any kind of special service, they go and get that help at that time rather than being pulled out of math or science or social studies or something else. If they happen to be working in our high ability program, they work on those goals at that time. So success period is that intervention time each day. Every kiddo has a learning goal, and they're working at their level, and they're not being pulled out of something else to do that. In addition to being a Title I school, we are also a PBIS school. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. Basically, that means we're going to focus on the positive. We want to teach kids what we expect, model it, and practice that. and that helps curb some of the misbehavior that we just naturally get because they're learning. So we start each day with morning announcements that are delivered by our 6th graders. And part of that includes a mindful minute. And we talk a lot about mindfulness and getting our brains ready for learning and how to care for our brains and our bodies. So it's a wellness focus. We talk about handling stress, developing good study habits, regulating ourselves, when we get anxious or too excited, and we just need to get our bodies and minds ready for the occasion. So we spend a lot of time teaching those skills and then recognizing them. Some of the positive recognition that goes on at Thorntown, we give out tickets to kids we catch being good. We have shining moments passes that can be given to a student, and when they have one of those, it's pretty special. They come down to the office and we all hoop and holler and celebrate with them. We take their picture and send it to mom and dad right away because we want everybody to know good things are going on at school. And it's always fun to contact you and say, oh, they were sent to the office today, and then let you know that it was for something amazing. Another highlight of PBIS is our Student of the Month recognition. Every month, each class will name a Student of the Month for their class, and that student is recognized by having their picture displayed on our wall of fame. Parents get a letter. We make a gift for that student, which each classmate contributes to, and then they get a special treat one day at lunch. So we definitely want to keep focusing on the good and celebrating the good around us, and that will, of course, lead to more good, and that's our goal. At Thorntown, we have all kinds of services available to students who need them. We have a fully staffed special education department, and while we try to always keep our students with special needs in the classroom as much as possible, there are times where they need to go to a resource room and get some extra support. So that is available to our students here. We also have high ability programming. So students who are identified with giftedness and high ability, we want to make sure we're stretching them and they have opportunities to reach their potential as well. So regardless of where every child comes to us, they all have the opportunity to have their needs met. We're very lucky to live in the community that we do. We have several community partnerships, one of them being with Inwell. Inwell provides counseling to our students. We have a full-time therapist who is here 5 days a week now, and then we also have access to a life skills coach who would come in and maybe work with small groups to work on organization or study skills or conflict resolution. So depending on the need, they come in and work with students on some of those skills. We also have a mentoring program called SOAR. This was developed by a past parent and a retired teacher who saw the need to bring more adults into the lives of our kids. And so we have about 12 to 15 mentors right now who work with students. Often they're paired with that student in 3rd grade, and they get to stay with them and continue to foster that relationship until they leave us in 6th grade. So that's been a very successful and supportive program at our school. Our technology initiative is something we are super proud of at Western Boone Schools. This year, we did achieve one-to-one devices for all kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. So every student has a laptop. It became a necessity, of course, last spring, and we'll talk more about COVID in a minute, but all of our students do have access to a laptop. They use them daily, but they don't use them all day. We still value hands-on experiences, projects, reading and writing and paper and pencils. So we use all of those things too, but our kids are learning important technology skills and just collaboration skills. The things that they can do with technology to learn from one another and with one another is pretty amazing. One thing that's really important to know about is that we do have e-learning at Western Boone Schools. So if you're new to us, this is something you'll want to know about and note it on the calendar. We have 3 planned e-learning days throughout the school year. On those days, students learn from home. So teachers plan activities and post it all online. The students will take home their computers and they will log on and do their assignments from home that day. That allows us to provide professional development to our teachers and staff 3 times throughout the year. Those are posted on our school calendar, and you'll want to make note of those so that you can obviously make plans for childcare and that sort of thing. The other benefit of having one-to-one devices is that while we were closed last spring and throughout this school year, when students have had to be out of school, maybe they were close contact or they need a quarantine, they're able to continue their learning virtually. They basically, the teacher will open up a Teams meeting and go live, and the students from home can log on and see that lesson and participate, and then have access to their lessons from home. So that's allowed us to be able to stay open all year and reach those kids who've had to be home at different times. All right. This is an important slide, so take note here. These are documents that are required for students to start school. So we need these prior to the first day of school, and some of them you're going to want to get on right away because doctors' offices get very busy in the summertime. Birth certificates. We will need a birth certificate on file for your child. If you don't have one, I would get that process in place now because it can take some time to get that in the mail. Also, immunization records. Reach out to your doctor's office. They can fax those to us. But if your child needs their immunizations, get that appointment scheduled because that can get tricky in the summertime when everybody else is trying to get in there. Also, proof of residency. This would be like a utility bill, lease agreement, mortgage statement, something like that that proves that you live where you do. This is just important so we can get them enrolled. If you are not a resident of Western Boone Schools and you would like for your child to attend our school, that is okay. There is a process in place for that, and I'll talk about that and show you where to get that paperwork. It does have to go through board approval, so we don't want to miss that because that's how we get that approved. But we will need proof of residency regardless of where you do live. The last thing is court documentation. This just applies to anyone who has custody arrangements or any special circumstances that we need to be aware of. We will need that court documentation so we make sure that we're doing right by your child and according to your intentions. So if there's anything like that in place for your child, please get a copy of that to us and keep it updated. All right, these next couple slides have to do with our nurse and our medical services at school. So again, you will need to get physical forms and immunization records to us from your doctor's offices. So get those things scheduled. Probably towards the start of the school year, we'll do some sort of an open house or tours for our preschool and kindergarten parents. Last fall, we had to do one-on-one tours. So one way or another, we'll get you in the building and let your child look around and put everybody's mind at ease. That day or anytime, it's important for you to make sure the nurse and the classroom teacher are aware of any allergies or medical needs. There may need to be a health plan developed and then shared with other staff in the building who are going to come in contact with your child. It's just so important that we know what's going on so that we can be there for your child and address any needs that come up. If your child is going to be absent from school, it's important to call the office by 9 a.m. If we haven't heard from you by 9 a.m., especially if they're a walker or a bike rider, we will start looking for you, trying to make sure that child is okay. And if we can't contact somebody, we do send our SRO out to do a well check because we just want to make sure kids aren't, at home alone and didn't get out the door. We want to make sure everybody's safe. So always report to the office by 9 a.m. if your child is going to be absent. Students with a fever of 99.6 should be kept home, and they can return once they've been fever-free without medication for 24 hours. If they have severe cough, vomiting, or diarrhea, they should not attend school. We have some other special guidelines in place this year after we've experienced COVID, so I'll talk about those in just a minute. But one thing to know is that medication can be administered at school. Some students take regular medication for a variety of reasons. That can be administered by our nurse, but it has to be transported to and from school by an adult. Please never send that with your child. It can get dropped, lost. We don't want it getting in the hands of someone else. So always transport medication by an adult. All right. The big question that's probably on a lot of minds is, what is our response to COVID? If you're really interested, you could look at the Western Boone website. We do have a re-entry plan that's been posted there and updated throughout the year, so that it kind of show you all the ins and outs of how we've handled it this year. But I think the thing that's been most critical to our success this year is that when students are experiencing symptoms, or anyone in the household is experiencing symptoms, the whole family needs to stay home from school. That keeps it from getting into other households. So if somebody in the home has symptoms, all of the children should be kept home until a negative test or a doctor can provide an alternate diagnosis. Sometimes kids are just going to get sick, and a doctor can say this is not COVID related, instead it is seasonal allergies. But we need that for those kids to get back into the school. And like I said before, students who are home due to COVID will attend school virtually and complete their assignments for the duration of their absence. Teachers have been very good about working with families and trying to accommodate needs, because we understand that can be difficult at times when everybody is home and missing work and things like that. Also, just know that at our schools currently, students in grades 3 through 6 are all wearing masks, and adults are as well. Everyone above 3rd grade has to have a mask on at all times. Students in grades pre-K through grade 2 need to have a mask with them. So every student has a lanyard and they keep their mask on it when they're not wearing it, but they do have to wear them at arrival, dismissal, and other high traffic periods. And anyone coming into the clinic, because that's where we work with kids who aren't feeling so well, anybody that comes into the clinic needs to have a mask on. So it's important, if your child hasn't been used to that, you might want to practice that with them. I will tell you, our students have done an excellent job. They wear them, it's another accessory, and everybody wants to check out the coolest mask. If they do forget, we have extras here at school, but it really helps us out if you can help them develop a habit of always having one in their backpack. Some other things I just wanted to note about COVID. I guess I want to celebrate, because we have been able to be open all school year. We haven't missed a day or had to close at all this year, so that's been a big benefit to our families. We continue to collaborate with Boone County Health Department and the other Boone County schools and adjust our plan as needed. So we've made some adjustments along the way, but it has worked really well. And there have been times when kids have had to be out, but for the most part, school has gone on as usual. A couple of things that have changed due to COVID, or at least are different for right now, is the number of outside activities and visitors that we have in our school. Anyone who comes into our building must have a mask, and we have not brought in outside convocations or programs. We've tried to limit the number of people in our buildings, and that, I think, has allowed us to stay open for school. We also have not allowed like birthday treats and parties and things like that from home. We still celebrate. We had a Valentine's party, but we did it a little different. And anything that does come in from home, we've had it, it needed to be here 3 days prior so it could sit for 72 hours before other kids would touch it. So we're trying to take some precautions, and we're all learning through this, but those things have really, I think, kept us healthy and kept COVID out of our school as much as possible. All right, let's talk about preschool. What to expect. Preschool is a lively place in our building. It is staffed. We have 2 preschool classrooms, and in each classroom we have a lead teacher and an assistant. And we usually have, I guess it's up to 15 to 20 kids in a class. For this year, I think we've hovered right around 15 per class. Students who are 4 by August 1st are eligible for preschool. They have to be 4 by August 1st, and they need to be potty trained. That is very important. So if they aren't, you need to start working on that now. Students in preschool follow our school calendar and come to school when all the other kids come to school. And they do have the opportunity to ride the bus if the transportation is needed. We have seats. Our buses are outfitted with seats with seat belts for our younger students. So once we know who is coming, they make sure they have seats assigned for those kiddos. To get into preschool, you need to bring us a deposit and fill out a preschool contract. And there's a link to that later in the presentation. Tuition for preschool is $240 per month. And you do need to make a deposit when you turn in your contract. So the deposit is $240, and that gets applied to the May tuition. So it's a nice treat in May. You don't have to make another month's payment, but in order for them to enroll, you will need a contract on file and the $240 deposit. And the only other fees, and it hasn't been approved yet at the school board meeting, but it's usually around $40 to $45 for textbook fees. And that's to buy materials and craft supplies and things like that for the preschools. So that is the other fee. Students in preschool are eligible to eat our school lunch and breakfast. And if they qualify for a meal assistance, that could be reduced or free. Textbook fees and tuition, though, are not covered under that assistance. You should know that our preschool is parent funded, so it is staffed by this tuition. So it's important that we get those funds to cover everything we need to run the preschool out of our school. In preschool, you should know that it is play-based. The students are constantly creating and doing arts and crafts and playing and exploring, and it's a wonderful place for kids. In addition, they get to learn what it's like to be in a school and be around the big kids, and our big kids get to go in and read to them and do things with them. So that is a very exciting time for our preschoolers. And our teachers teach from the Indiana Early Learning Foundations. Basically, that means we do address early literacy and numeracy skills so that they are ready to jump in kindergarten and be able to write their letters and write their names and know their numbers and that sort of thing. And then comes kindergarten. In order to enroll in kindergarten, students must be 5 by August 1st. Now, students who turn 5 by September 1st could be considered for early entry, but you would need to contact our office and set up an assessment of readiness, and then we would determine if your student would be eligible to start early. But generally speaking, students need to be 5 by August 1st to enroll in kindergarten. Currently, we have 3 sections of kindergarten, and we generally have up to 25 students per class. Most of the time, it hovers between 18 and 20 students, but we just never know. And that's why it is so important to get enrolled now. And if you know people who are sending kids to kindergarten, get them signed up now, because we need to know who's coming, so we make sure we have enough staff. We don't want to be hiring a teacher in August, the day before school starts. I already mentioned that we do early intervention in kindergarten. They do have a 90-minute literacy block every day. This is not just sitting at their tables and reading, but they are up and doing literacy activities throughout the room and throughout the school, and we push in extra support and we get them in small groups. And believe it or not, if they aren't reading when they get here, they're reading by the time they leave kindergarten. So it's a pretty amazing year, and it's fun to watch. And I think it's because we have all that wonderful support in the classrooms. In kindergarten, we teach from the Indiana Academic Standards, and our students participate in special area classes. So they get reading and math and writing and calendar time and science and social studies. Our kindergarten teachers are super creative, and they make learning a lot of fun, and our kids are very busy. In reading, they will work on phonics and phonemic awareness, but they also work on reading fluency and comprehension, and they get into books and they start reading text. They also get an opportunity to work with STEM activities, and STEM is your science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So our kids are exploring, they get to dabble in coding, and it's just amazing how their brains work, and we get to see that develop, and it's through those experiences that they have in kindergarten. In addition, as I mentioned, they do have a laptop, so we are working with them on basic keyboarding skills and computer skills so that they can navigate things and access different types of learning tools. Before you know it, they'll be helping you at home if they aren't already. All right, just a little bit more in general about our school day. I did mention attendance, and if your child is going to be absent, to call the office. Kindergarten is not required in the state of Indiana, But once they enroll, they are expected to adhere to our attendance guidelines. So it is important that if you choose to send your child to kindergarten, that they do attend regularly. And we just have to follow the same attendance guidelines as we have for our 1st through 6th grade students. At school, students have the opportunity to have breakfast and lunch. Breakfast is served from 7:40 until 7:55. Essentially, once we let the kids in at 7:40, they drop their things off at the classroom, and then they can pick up breakfast and they take it to the classroom and have breakfast there. It's kind of a grab and go concept. Lunch, they have choices. So it'll be important to print off that lunch menu each day. Every day there is a main entree that is varied. And then if they don't want that main entree, they could choose a peanut butter sandwich or a chicken sandwich. So they do have some choices. And depending on which main entree they get, they also get the sides that come with the lunch. And that's usually a fruit and a vegetable and a milk. So again, they can eat school lunch, they can pack a lunch. That is whatever their preference is. Students also have a snack period throughout the day. In the past, we have used snack calendars and had somebody bring in snacks for the entire class. Due to COVID, we are not doing that this year. Each student is responsible for bringing their own snack each day. And we don't want to stockpile those in their cubbies because then we invite critters. So we do ask that you just send snacks each day, or at least just for that week, and then resupply the next week. Also, I should mention that it's important to think about snacks that you send in. We do have some students with peanut allergies in particular. So monitor what kinds of snacks you're sending. And if you know your child is in a room where there is a student with a peanut allergy, we ask that you do not send anything with peanuts. And we'll make sure you're aware of that, and we work with the students on that. But that is very important that we keep all of our friends safe when we're at school. All right, building security and safe visitor check-in. I have to say we haven't had a lot of visitors this year, but when we do, parents are scanned in. They scan their driver's license, and we do a background check, a basic one, just to make sure that anybody who is here is a friend to kids, and we want to make sure our kids are safe. If we get back to the point where we have classroom volunteers and we're going on field trips and that sort of thing, any parent who volunteers or participates in a school function will need to have a criminal background check on file. And there is a link on our school website where you can go in and fill that out. So we'll let you know when we get back to those days, and we will have you make sure you have plenty of time to fill out that background check. In addition to having our SRO in the building, just kind of as extra security, our teachers do keep their classroom doors locked. Students do navigate throughout the building throughout the day, and many of the doors have little doorbells on them, and they know that they can get back in, but we just do keep our classroom doors shut and locked throughout the day just to make sure that we know who's coming and going and where everybody is. So we do feel like our students are very safe here. And we have people throughout the building at those high traffic times, just making sure we know who's coming and going. Don't ever be offended if somebody stops you and asks why you're here. And if you are in the building, you'll need a badge so we know why you're here. So we'll print that off for you in the office. Arrival and dismissal. This is probably the most stressful part of starting school, and you'll get it figured out, and then one day you'll have grandma or grandpa or somebody else drop off or pick up, and it'll be a confusing thing for them as well. So here on this slide, and when I publish this later, you'll be able to click where it says arrival and dismissal traffic and print out or read how things work, because you won't remember it in August, but this is really important to review, and I will share it out again right before school starts so people are aware of it. But basically, we have different zones around our building where kids are coming and going. If your child is a bus rider, the buses pull in the front circle and drop off students, and they go in the front door. At the end of the day, our bus riders exit the front door, or actually either into the building and walk along the sidewalk, and they enter their buses, they board their buses in front of our building in the circle drive. So that's bus rider traffic. If they are car riders, It is so important that we have you come to our car rider line. That is on the east side of our building. It is, you can enter the east parking lot over by the baseball fields and you line up, and we dismiss 4, 5, 6 cars at a time to let the kids out in the morning. We start letting them out of the cars at 7:40 and we stop letting them out of the cars on that side at 7:55. So that line is gone by 7:55 when the tardy bell rings. If you are late to school, you can come to the front doors at that point because you'll need to come inside and sign your student in and get a pass. But for the most part, all car riders should be dropped off and picked up on the east side of the building. The only folks who should be dropping off students in the front of the building for arrival time are people who have Western Boone Junior Senior High students. The families who are dropping off those students need to drop off at the front door so that they can catch a bus. So you will see traffic in front of our building of a morning, but those should be the families that have Western Boone students who need to catch a bus. All other families should go on around to the east side of the building. This keeps it much safer for our kids who are walking or riding their bikes to school. So let's talk about walkers and bike riders. These are our kids who live in town. They should be taught to travel down Vine Street. So if you are walking with your child or helping them get to school, it's important to teach this to them now in kindergarten, because someday they'll be a 6th grader and you're probably going to let them travel alone, and they need to know to travel down Vine Street and cross with the crossing guard. Vine Street is closed before and after school to car traffic, so students can walk right down the road and the crossing guard follows most of them home because we want to make sure everybody gets home safely. We do have students who like to cut across and head to the gas station now that it's over there, and that is very unsafe. We don't have a sidewalk on that side of the road. There's car traffic, and we really need students to walk down Vine Street, and then if you're wanting to meet them at the gas station, they can turn at the next block and head that direction, but they need to be able to get to those sidewalks and get across the road where it is safe. The other thing here is just making sure we have a clear dismissal plan for your child. It is the most hectic time of the day, especially those first couple weeks of school. Everybody's getting in a new routine, but we need to know where they're going. As you heard, we have different zones around our building. So if they are a car rider, we're taking them to the east side of the building. If they're a walker, they're going to exit the front doors. If they are a bus rider, they're going to exit the front doors. And it gets confusing when, you know, they think they're a car rider and then somebody's waiting for them up front. So it's just really important that we know what their dismissal plans are. And if those change, you know, one day a week or every other day, we just need to know that, and we make a note and stick that by the door in the classroom, and we can get them to the right place. If a dismissal plan changes, it's very important to call the school and make sure we are aware of it. Don't just send it in an email, because there's a chance somebody won't see that until after school. You need to call the office, hopefully by 2 o'clock, because after 2 o'clock, kids are coming and going and we may miss someone. But if you call by 2 o'clock, we will get a message to the teacher of any changes. The other thing to check periodically in Harmony is your emergency contacts. Things change, but if your child is involved with a situation in school that is emergency related, we need to be able to get a hold of someone. So make sure those emergency contacts are updated. Generally, we won't tell the contact what is going on. We'll just say, hey, we have a situation at school. We haven't been able to reach mom or dad, and you are an emergency contact. Can you get in touch with them and have them call the school? All right, so that's a lot of information. I'm going to stop and catch my breath. We have a short little video, and hopefully if your kiddos are there watching with you, they can watch, or you can share this with them later, but it's just a little introduction to our school. It's 3 minutes, and when that ends, I've got a couple other things I want to share with you, and that will conclude our program. I always love watching the videos and seeing the pictures because it reminds me that they're still kids and they're just doing kid things. And even in the middle of this pandemic, we've been able to maintain some sense of normalcy for them. So hopefully you are encouraged and excited about sending your kids to Thorntown because it's a great place for kids. I wanted to share with you something that's very unique to our school district, and that is the College 529 Promise. This is financed through the Greater Jamestown Area Fund with a trust that was established by Virgil Benj. He set aside funds that have been committed for 12 years to establish college choice savings accounts for every graduating kindergarten student in a Western Boone school. So at the end of your kindergarten year, at some point in the kindergarten year, we need to set up a 529 account for your student. If you already have those set up, that is fine too. The money can just be deposited into that account. But the goal is for every student to have a fund set up, and our district and this fund provides $100 into each graduating kindergartner's account. When they finish third grade with us, they get an additional $50 into their account. And of course, then you can set up things where, other people can make donations, or, you can get credit from credit cards and different things that go into that account. So it's important to start building that fund now and see what your kids do with it when they graduate from high school. That is something unique to Western Boone, and we're very excited to share that with our families each year. Okay, so what comes next? This is your to-do list, Mom and Dad. Number one, we need you to complete the online enrollment. And at the end of the slide, I have another 3-minute video that will walk you through that process. It is so important that we get your student enrolled. Like I said, we base our staffing on our numbers. We have 3 kindergarten teachers right now, but one of them is retiring. And so we will not make plans to replace her until we know who we have coming to school next year. So again, super important that we get kids signed up. We want to know who is coming and how many kids that is so that we can staff appropriately. If you know folks who are thinking about coming to school and haven't decided yet, make sure they know it's important to get registered, and if they have questions, reach out and talk with me, and hopefully I can help them make a decision that's right for their family. The other thing that you should do if you're a non-resident is complete the non-resident application. When I publish this presentation next week, you will be able to access it via this link. However, you can also access it on the Western Boone website under registration. So you can go in there, print it off, fill it out, and get it to our school so that we can get that turned in for board approval. The next bullet is about school supply kits. If you're new to us and this is your first child coming through school, this might be foreign to you, but we have kits that get put together for each grade level, and a company contacts us and says, what do you need for each grade level on your school supply list? And they put together kits for us. And I'll tell you what, it's a game changer. You don't have to go hunting down that specific supply at Walmart or Target and get into arguments about puppy dogs and kittens on your folders. It's nice. You purchase them. They're cost effective, and they're here on the first day of school. The kids don't have to carry all the supplies with them on the first day of school. And then if you want to take them to Walmart and let them pick out their favorite folder for their papers that they're proud of when they bring them home, that's fun to do. But these school supply kits are a game changer. So we don't have the link to order those yet, but once we do, those will be posted on our website. So if that is of interest to you, check out our website in the next couple months and that will be posted. All right, if you have a preschool student and you plan to send them to us next year, you will need to bring us a deposit or mail us one. Again, that's $240 that later gets applied to your May tuition. And then we will get the contract signed so that your student can start preschool in the fall. Remember, they do need to be 4 by August 1st. And then get those physicals and immunizations scheduled with your doctor's offices. The last thing is in July, and don't get too excited, it's a little later in July, but you will get an email that says it's time to register. And that's where you'll go on and complete the registration process. You won't get that email if you don't do the online enrollment, because that's how we get your email. So do that online enrollment as soon as possible, and then watch for the registration email in July. I'm going to queue up this next video from Mr. Whiteley where he talks to you about how to do the online enrollment. It's a little different process if you already have students in school, so be sure you watch accordingly. If you already have students here, you're just adding a student to your account. If this is the first child you're sending to Western Boone and you don't already have an account, you have to do a couple other steps, but it's very easy and explained in this 3-minute video. After that, it concludes our presentation. So again, I encourage you to keep the questions coming. Hopefully Mr. Roush has been able to answer those for you throughout the evening. And if not, we will get answers out to you, and feel free to call our office at any time. I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. I can't wait to meet your kiddos and meet you all in person. Have a great evening.
Hello, this is a short video that will show you how to complete the online enrollment for your preschool or kindergarten student for the upcoming school year. You will use our Harmony site to complete this process, and a link will be provided. If you already have students at Western Boone and have created a Harmony family account, you will sign in using those credentials. If you are brand new to the school corporation, you will need to create a Harmony account. To do so, from the Harmony homepage, you will click Create an Account here. You will enter in your first name, last name, email, your username, and password. Then click Register. At this point, we are at the screen that everyone will be at once they've either created an account or signed in with their existing account. This Harmony account will be used to not only enroll your student, but to complete summer registration later this summer. For the purposes of today, you will get signed in and then scroll down until you see I need to enroll a student. Click this link. You only complete this process if your student has never been in our school system before. Existing preschool students moving into kindergarten do not need to complete this process. Once you click I need to enroll a student, you then pick your school, Thorntown Elementary or Granville Wells. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm choosing Granville Wells Elementary. Then you will click Enroll. At this point, you will complete the student demographic information, and when you get to the bottom of the page, you will click Submit. Phone numbers should be entered with or without dashes, but should contain all 10 digits. If a field is not applicable, you may leave it blank. Please be sure to select the correct grade level for the next school year. You should select PK for preschool and K for kindergarten. You do not need to use the text address field, because that will come from the cell phone fields you will enter later. For email addresses, we need at least one email address. If you have multiple email addresses, you may separate those with a comma. If the parent's address is the same as the student's above, you do not need to complete the address field again under the parent information. Please do not enter Social Security numbers, as we do not need those in our database. You may enter up to 4 emergency contacts. Once you have submitted, you will see a screen saying thank you for enrolling. Once you see this screen, you have completed the enrollment process. If you have any questions, please contact the school office. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Have a good evening.